Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Apex Racing TV. You're watching the Radical Racing Challenge Strength of Field race, and tonight we're reaching the pinnacle of our tour of American motorsport venues. That's right, we're visiting Sebring. For the uninitiated, Sebring International Raceway, like many iconic motorsport venues, is laid out on the runways of a World War II airbase. It hosted its first race on New Year's Eve 1950, and thus is the oldest permanent road racing circuit in America. Its name is synonymous with endurance racing, so racing these prototype S cars here should be an absolute spectacle. I'm joined in the booth by resident Radical Challenge commentator Sam Fitzpatrick, and behind the cameras we have a fresh face for the series with Jamie Fluke joining us for the first time. Sam, I kind of missed you guys last week, and I actually wanted to ask you, were the drivers coping well with Virginia or struggling a bit? And what do you think we can expect from this race here at Sebring?
Well, I think Virginia was an incredibly tricky race. These drivers are still learning this car, undoubtedly. It's a very tricky car to drive as well. And so Virginia was quite a challenge for the drivers, but I think it's going to only be easier from here on in. This is not an easy circuit either. A lot of tricky racing lines, a lot of bumpy corners as well, and a lot of corners to learn here at Sebring. But a track at least that these drivers would have put many laps in, and I know a lot of these drivers really like to put laps in as well. So yeah, hopefully we see these drivers just continue to get used to this car. I mean, I think we're seeing it week after week, the guys just learning how to manage this car, learning how to manage this setup, and I think the field is going to get closer and closer. Maybe this will be our most competitive grid of the season yet.
Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to the racing, and Sebring is one of those tracks where I normally don't know what to expect. I think there are some drivers out there where the track really suits their driving styles, and some other drivers where I think they prefer to see the bounds of the circuit in most of the corners. I think Sunset Bend is probably one of those examples of where you really need to be imaginative with the type of racing line that you take into the corner. But yeah, definitely looking forward to seeing what these drivers have in store for us.
Yeah, and the first few times are just going up on the timing tower at the moment, and it's fantastic to see Kane Halliburton back. He was not present last week, but he is back tonight, the car #1, and he's looking very strong. In fact, currently, top 3 drivers are top 3 seeds. So Halliburton up ahead of Moore, and then Morales and Halliburton with that customary quarter of a second clear. However, he has gone back to the pits, and I do not think he's going to be allowed to set a second lap time. So maybe he could be vulnerable because, well, at least in the SR8, obviously the car was always fast on the second lap. And I think so far this season we're still getting to grips with this car, but I think this season as well, the car's usually faster on the second lap. Mike Hart, car number 10, he is out there. Also Ennio Barber. We're going to call him Ennio today, even though it's Errand Barber. It's just his other account. But he's the car number 7, legend in the series, obviously. And he is also yet to put in a lap time. And a fair few other drivers have yet to put in their lap time. So expect that timing board to really light up in about 30 seconds' time.
Yeah, and just looking at the top, they're going to make our job really difficult for us in the first lap. Moore, Morales and Merrily. Not sure I'm not going to tie my tongue, but a 1:52.907, I have seen faster times in the practice session, but that being said, it is a very, very tough ask. And Moore is actually going to jump up to the top with a 1:52.898. Barnes also coming to the top, and a few other drivers with pretty good times as well.
Yeah, Bonnie just popping up as well. And Putnieks going up third as well. I think Barber's on his second lap, so invalidated his first lap. There goes Krolic. He moves up to P5. Strong time there from the French driver. And still a decent amount of spread, but obviously very close between our top two drivers. Morales across the line. Is this going to be putting him at the top? It does. And whilst we have got a spread outfield, the top 3 under 2/100ths of a second between the 3 of them. Absolutely mega stuff here at Sebring. I've still got a few more drivers to set times. We've got Muller out there who's yet to complete his time. Stefan Erb. We've also just had Griggs Salmons go across the line. Mike Hart, Ennio Barber, and Giuseppe Jenna are the drivers yet to put in times. Of course, they're limited to just 2 laps are these drivers, so any laps you put in after those first 2 laps are going to be invalidated. As you see, Barber actually lighting up the timing tower, or the timing screen, purple right there. Let's see what Muller can do. This should be good enough for top 10 at least. You have seen quite a big increase in pace, and look at that. Moves all the way up to P5, 0.8 of a second advantage. Let's see if any of the other drivers can follow that up.
Yeah, and I'm not sure about Virginia, but I know this is probably the first time that we've got Halliburton out of place on the second row of the grid. So it's going to be a bit more of a nuanced start for some of the drivers, a bit of unknown territory. Definitely looking forward to that. And just looking at Barber coming across the line and keeping an eye on that timing board, seeing if he is going to jump up. And all the way to the top with 1:52.815, so completely jumbled up grid for the start. Definitely looking forward to that. And we'll have your runners up on the screen in a moment. So Ennio Barber at the last second, jumping up to the top with 1:52.815. Edu Morales on very close on his heels with a bit less than 8/100ths on him. And then Nathan Moore, second row of the grid, 3rd place. Kane Halliburton, 4th place. So he's going to be fighting at the start. Then we've got Russell Barnes, Julius Muller, Kolschik, Merrily, 9th position, Angvik. Kalliskin is going to round out 10th. And then we've got Valentini Bonnie and Greg Salmons, 11th and 12th. Then Rafael Blanco, Hernandez, Richard Puto, not sure I pronounced that correctly, Duvernay, Putinix, 3rd, Boyard in 19th, Erb in 20th, and then Jenna, Hart, Hesterman, and Armstrong rounding out the back of the pack. So looking up to pick some positions off a possible chaotic start.
Yeah, and that was spectacular for Barber right at the end there. That gave me Eurovision vibes of a country suddenly getting a bunch of votes. Absolutely surging to the top. It was wonderful to see. And let's see if he can hold on to it, because we've seen Barber struggling with the tyres a couple of times this season. We saw at, I think it was Laguna Seca, him just dropping off in the second half of the race. You've got to be so careful with these cars. the rear tyres, particularly this week, have been overheating, and so it's all going to be about pacing each other. If we see a driver get away in the opening stages, don't necessarily count on that driver winning, because I think it's going to be about maintaining that tyre heat for the entire race here at Sebring to find out who comes out on top.
Yeah, the tires in this radical are very, very tricky to keep in the window and keep alive. With the cold tires on the first few laps, there is a very strong possibility for chaos on the grid. Was just waiting for Baba to grid up. He's currently in the pits. He's going to stay in the pits. We see him 5 lights ready, and we are off. Morales, of course, very, very poor start. They're kind of stuck in the middle of the track. We've got Morales now down in third with Moore and Halliburton taking the lead. Halliburton driving off into distance already through. Oh, and we've got chaos in the back. Lots of drivers off the track, but Halliburton is going to take a 5/10 gap as some of the other drivers recover on the track. Miller down the orders, and Rick swapping places with Hart. And out of the front, we've got Halliburton, Morales, Moore, Krolsvik, Bonnie, Salmons, all in position. The only drivers really keeping in position there, Morales and Moore on the start. And now we are going to start settling in the groove as we go down towards the hairpin turn. And Kaliskin looking for something here on the inside, and he is going to get the position. Chaos at the back, another driver off the track that looks like Duvernay. And yes, that unfortunately is a Duvernay dropping down the order as we go through hairpin turn and through the Fangio chicane. And slightly chaotic, but solid start. Sam, do you spot anything in the back?
Yeah, it's just an issue for Hearts and Ankovic actually now. Look at there, and they are miles off. That must have been a huge lock-up or collision between the two of them. And Hearts struggling to get back going as well. So slippery is the grass. I swear the grass has got more slippery recently. Whenever I've driven recently, it's been absolutely insane. But yeah, just sliding off into the wall a little bit wide for one of the drivers in the background. That may have been Greg Salmons maybe, just having his line slightly compromised. Third, has he got damage out there? He seemed a little bit gingerly going through again to be in bend right there. As I've got the car number 9 just going to the inside. I always get concerned if we get a slowdown in that snow, but I think Krolic is all right. He is now 2.5 seconds off the lead. But I mean, we were talking about Halliburton having a poor qualifying, down in P4, immediately just goes into the lead. I mean, absolutely unreal there. Great start. He knows this car so well, it seems, early on, and was straight up into the lead and has put himself into a great position as Krolic continues to come under pressure from Bonnie just behind.
Yeah, and things are shaping up for the drivers at the moment, but it's all going to be about switching on those tires at the start. Who does it faster? Because that is where your initial lap time is going to lie. After that, you really need to take care of those tires. Try not to take too much life out of it, as probably near the 3/4 mark, they'll start giving up on you. But at the moment, Kaliskin is smack bang in the middle of the draft train. Meanwhile, out the front, Halliburton, a bit of a smaller gap between himself and Morales. And Morales possibly finding some life in those tires, looking for opportunity, not going to go for the dive, rather settles in behind and tries to just see where Halliburton might be struggling a bit, where he might have lost that time. He did have a very fast previous lap, so this lap was the one where he lost that time. And coming under pressure, a bit uncharacteristic for Halliburton. And I was wondering why we were seeing a Lonesome Barnes, but he's got Hesterman for company right in front of him.
Yeah, I'm not sure what happened to Barnes at on lap 1. I think he just went straight on at turn 1. He didn't start from the pits to Barnes, but he's down 13 places, started up in P5, and yeah, has got a lot of work to do as we start to see a little bit of a slalom. This is great to see. We've seen some brilliant battling actually in the radicals. I think Laguna Seca in particular, we had about a 5-car battle all race long. You can really race these cars well. They are very good race cars, but it's just a matter of getting everyone comfortable in it so that we have a nice compact field. And I think we've got that tonight, because Krolic is under so much pressure right now, still in that P4. Bonnie cannot find a way past. Salmons with a strong lap there. Oh, off in the background. I think that's 2 cars off. That's Kaliskin off the circuit. I think it may have just been Kaliskin. In fact, he's the only driver who I'm seeing drop multiple places. And in fact, he hit the wall lost the rear wing. There's been some damage updates today for the Radical SR8, and maybe that was enough to make it a terminal damage impact.
Yeah, so just looking here at what happened, so into the braking zone, into the corner actually, and just slightly taps the rear, just missed whose car that was, but taps the
Merley.
rear of the leading, yeah, so taps the rear of Merley, and settles his own car, maybe even a bit of an net go.
Yeah, I think you might be right there, and yeah, I mean, I think you were talking earlier on about, you know, Sunset Ben taking some creative lines. It's sort of the same thing actually at first curve as well, because as Richaputo is round, and that's must have lost it on corner exit there, but I don't see any damage on that guy. He's down now to 17th place. He was in 9th, I believe.
Yeah, so let's just see whether it was driver error or maybe a bit of too much curb. I think that might have been the curb there. Some of these curbs, I try to remember which ones are which, but normally the curbs here at Sebring seem very, very flat. And then once in a while you get this errant curb that just goes up by a few, let's say 5 centimeters, a few inches, yeah, a few inches for our Imperial folk. But it might have been one of those.
Yeah, I think that one does stick up a bit, not as high as a few of the others, but yeah, you can certainly unsettle your car. And also I think there's quite a few bumps on the apex there, so really easy to do, applying the power, and yeah, just a big mess through the Cunningham corner there. We are watching Herb Boyard. In fact, actually, this is a move. Oh, Bonnie having to go defensive against Salmons, and he's all out at sea there. And Merley manages to move past into P6, and Salmons will be, yeah, furious with that one.
Yeah, it's got to sting a little bit, kind of going off the track like that, losing not 1 but 2 positions in a very small space of time. And he's kind of lost touch with them a bit, so maybe just finding a bit of time to reset his mindset, get his head back into the game, and get the car going again. Hesterman under pressure here, a 3-way battle, and he's barely holding on in the front of Rasputo and Anjovic as they battle it out behind him. Now Anjovic piling on the pressure for Hesterman, and just looking for opportunity. He had to settle that battle with Rasputo first. Rasputo kind of being left in the rearview mirrors of the 2 cars that were battling. Kolsuzek on his own with Honey and Merley just duking it out behind him. And the one thing about Sebring that before we go that, Boyard spinning on the track.
Yeah, that is after getting to be in bend. I'm not sure what the second. So you got this right hander. Not sure what the left hander is. Actually, you know what? He lost it in the right hander. Oh, the drivers are behind it so well. Who was the car number 12? That was Muller, who's actually just had his own issue. So literally, as I say that, he's tumbling down the order. There he is, just rejoining the circuit. Yeah, and actually having to go back to the pits as well. But he did amazingly 2 corners before this to avoid a collision, and then he's undone it because he's gone too tight on the inside. He's made contact with maybe Herb there. Oh, and there was further contact. I missed who it was who made contact. It could have been Barber potentially. And yeah, returning to the pits with a cone as well.
I've never seen someone steal a cone inside the passenger side of their car. I didn't spy the collision, but I did spot a bit of a bump on the curb. Meanwhile, Baba is going on the inside freeway battle, and he is going to take 2 positions in one go. Absolutely spectacular racing there for Baba as he's working up on the field, but surprisingly low given his reputation. That being said, we don't mind some passing action. A lot of drivers have been making their own mistakes here, but just to see some overtaking is always fun. Barnes behind him now with Armstrong for company. Armstrong smelling opportunity, but Barnes is keeping well ahead of him. Down the straight they go, and what I was trying to say is that Sebring's got quite a lot of these straights that can't go onto one another, especially here down the Ullman straight. into Sunset Bend, and then immediately with the start finish pit straight following it, so you can really pick up a bit of a drafting opportunity down both of these straights, as is being demonstrated by Morales. You can see there 2/10 picking up a bit of time. Is he going to have an opportunity to go up on the inside? No, he does not. And into turn 1 we go, as he's trying to follow down the course.
You question whether he's just lining this one up, Morales, as Armstrong has made a mistake, although getting back up to speed nice and quick. I don't think he's got damage. But yeah, you do question if Morales is just waiting behind Halliburton deliberately, or whether he's genuinely trying to get past and just cannot find a way past. That was odd there for Armstrong. I think it was as he applied a bit more brake to the car and locking the rears and spinning around. Maybe could have been the bumps as well, of course, of such a tricky thing here at Sebring. But yeah, Halliburton 0.3 of a second ahead. Yeah, what is going through Morales' mind right now? I'm not sure if he's necessarily got the pace behind. I think once he gets a chance, the Spanish driver, or Iberian driver, apologies, I think he's gonna have to go for it, and I think he will try to. But Halliburton so far holding on very strong. Actually, just at the fastest first sector of the race, but you know, he can't get away at the moment. It's either, you know, Morales is just as quick, or that draft is keeping him in play.
Yeah, and in this situation, normally some drivers try to force an error from their opponent, especially on a track like Sebring, where errors seem to be very plentiful. But the problem is Halliburton is a very consistent driver. He's proved that all season long. So Morales is definitely going to have to go for an opportunity, and so bringing that gap down to 0.3 and immediately through Sunset Curve, Halliburton picks up a bit of a gap, and now Morales has to start all the way from the start yet again, this time 0.3 back, and I don't think that's going to be enough of a gap, so he's going to have to start again. 1:52.537, so the lap times are tumbling down, but these front two just in an utter league of their own, with the gap between Halliburton and Moore 3.6 seconds. So it's just showing how, even though they're fighting, they're still keeping ahead of the pack.
Yes, it's really impressive, and of course we do need to consider the tyres as well. We might see some tyre degradation, or not necessarily degradation even, but just overheating as the race goes on. And once you do overheat the tyres, it's very tricky to cool them back down. Maybe if it was an enduro, you'd have the patience to do that, but in a sprint race, you're not going to just slow down. Barnes is slowing down late. That was not to save the tyres. I think he's probably harmed the tyres, because he's dropped all the way down to 17th place in a race which promised so much for Russell Barnes. Qualifying up in P5, he could have well been in that Krolic-Merli-Bonney battle right now, but instead he's a long way adrift, and it was seemingly under power, losing control of the car, and then he's doing the right thing there. Is Russell hesitating to rejoin. Of course, do check out FindingSpeed.com. They do a few broadcasts. In fact, I think we've got a new Finding Speed league, actually, which had its first broadcast last Saturday. I mean, sign up to that. Go to FindingSpeed.com, sign up to it. And also, Russell has his own YouTube channel, and got some very good iRacing tips to get a bit faster over there. So, yeah, do check them out as Morales continues to close down to just 0.3 of a second. This is pretty much as close as he's been coming out of Sunset Bend for the entire race.
I'm getting some heavy Sainz Verstappen vibes from this race. Morales, every single time we go down the pit straight, he's on the rear of Halliburton, but then the gap kind of widens as we're going through the rest of the circuit, and then once he gets down to the straight again, he picks up again. So he's got his exit on the Le Mans curve pretty sorted out. He's got good control of Sunset Bend, but the tricky bit, it would seem, is keeping close through the rest of the lap. As you can see there, Halliburton opening up the gap a little bit. Then Morales down some of the, I'm going to call this a straight, it's not really a straight, but then brings the gap down again. And then once we go through the more twisty sections, Halliburton really has control over the car once he has to really get the foot down, get the acceleration on the floor. And that seems to be working out for him, keeping up him in front at the moment. Krolzerzik leading a pack of 3 with Merli and Bonney behind him. Now we just need a Clyde, but a nice three-way battle, and the slipstream proving very, very effective in this race.
Yeah, it really is. And, you know, College has done a very good job. So Murley got past Bonnie earlier on, but he has yet to get past College, who has been under pressure for the entire race, and he's constantly pulling shapes down the Allman Straight. But he's not been overtaken so far. Quick shout out, by the way, to one of our sponsors, Apex Racing Academy, for offering setups and data packs for many different cars, single-seaters, GTs, touring cars, even rallycross cars. And yeah, if you want to get faster in iRacing, do check out apexracingac.com. Got a range of subscription plans that you can sign up to, whether you want multiple cars or just a single car. And yeah, do check that out. As we see a move, Krolic, eventually his resistance is over. Murley with a very strong drive so far. He's up 4 places from his starting position. There wasn't much defense put up by Krolic, and eventually the Italian is into 4th position. Are we going to see a response from him? He's looking to the inside. Again, that slipstream effect that you were talking about earlier was very strong, but Krolic not enough to respond, and now he's going to have to just defend against Bonnie as he almost makes contact. And how many times have we seen that so far tonight? Drivers carrying varying amounts of speeds on corner entry, and it nearly ending in disaster.
Yeah, it's been a bit touch and go. I think some drivers are maybe just and that is Jenna off the road. Contact there and collecting Rice Puto. Very unfortunate spot to lose control of the car, but everything that these two are doing is synchronized, and Boyard is just going to find a wall in front of him. Almost looks like a bit of a formation that's driving down the track. A bit frustrating. I think Boyard might have lost a bit of time, and these two now, it doesn't even look like a battle. It might become a 3-way race, but yeah, so Jenna leading Rice Puto again, but very, very slow precision down the I think it was the Gurney Bend.
I've never wanted 2 cars to crash more in my life, honestly. That would be hilarious if they crashed a second time. But there goes Jenna, spinning. And then it was a bad rejoin. If you're Giuseppe here, you shouldn't be rejoining in that scenario. And yeah, man, I wanted them to make more contacts. Easy social media stuff, but there you go. Better luck next time. They're still close to one another. We've still got hope, guys. Is that they're very close to one another, aren't they? Richie Puzo is he going to go for? I mean, I imagine Jenna is really annoyed. Apologies, it's Richie Puzo, wasn't it? He was taken out. So Richie Puzo is really annoyed. So I mean, everyone's got their fingers crossed. Everyone. That's it gets personal, as I think Barber's actually just got past Morales with an off track. And he's actually just lost some time. So Morales with a mistake out there, and that has given Halliburton a comfortable lead, and I think that should be enough for the Jamaican to win this race.
Yeah, so that looks like the turn 2 almost. And yeah, just losing. Oof, okay. I was looking for the off track. I'm like, where is it? And that's pretty obvious. Yeah, maybe just pushing a little bit too hard.
I think that very much delivers the message that Morales was not waiting behind, you know, waiting for like a tactical move at the end of the race. He was pushing absolutely everything he had, and that is the result of it. So yeah, shame for Morales, but with still he needed to do something special, didn't he, to get the move, to get close enough to go for a move. And in the end, that's where he had to resort to. As what's that? Just a move for the car number 8. Yeah, Salmon's passed Bonnie there. Nice one. Good move there from Salmons. He's been behind Bonnie for this entire race, and he has just got past on the exit of Tower Bend.
Yeah, so I'm going to take this opportunity while it looks a bit quieter. Just want to thank another of our sponsors, SDK Gaming. So they're the ones that provide this beautiful overlay. You can use them to add a virtual live HUD to iRacing, show timing towers, enhance relative boxes, minimaps, fuel calculators, and more. You can also stream to Twitch with the most complete overlay on iRacing, broadcast the league and series. SDK Gaming syncs your commentary team's cameras, so you can focus on the drive and overlay with your broadcaster. You can also adjust your team's strategy on the fly with the most accurate live timing on iRacing. So yeah, a big thanks to SDK Gaming, as you can see there on the screen. Meanwhile, Bonnie and Salmons swapping positions just as I try to take the sponsor message. So of course that's going to happen.
Also, Krolic also passed Murley as well. So, I mean, if only when Halliburton and Morales were close, we should have gone to a sponsor message, and then inevitably Morales would have overtaken. But, well, we've missed our opportunity now. I think even from 2.5 seconds back, a sponsor read couldn't undo that gap. So Krolic now back ahead. And it's an odd one, really, because they haven't been defending against one another into Sunset. It's quite easy to defend into Sunset, at least the first part of it. But instead, they've sort of just been opening up the third room as Salmons is back ahead of Bonnie. That's the third overtake between these two in a lap. So Salmons back with a chance, but running a little bit wide. This passing is losing them time to the cars ahead. I don't think they'll lose enough time to Blanco to bring the Uruguayan into play. But this is very much just a two-way battle now, with just over 2 laps to go.
Yeah, so Bonnie very, very wide on the exit of the corner there, but we'll just quickly see what happens here with Merrily going into Sunset Bend. So right on the rear of Krolsuzek, and a few tenths separating the two of them, but it's going to be looking at the drive down the main straight. That's a very, very wide line, and he's going to be right on the rear of Krolsuzek. 3 tenths separating the two of them. That's not going to be enough for a lunge, so he's going to try to make up that time during the rest of the lap. That being said, the tires are well past their due date, and the last few laps of racing, if there's an opportunity now, a bit of a slide of the rear there from Krolsuzek, almost loses enough time to get Merrily past him, but manages to recover Merrily with a similar mistake from himself, and unfortunately loses a ton of time on Krolsuzek in front of him.
I think the driving is turning quite erratic now, because we've just seen another mistake from Salmons. Bonnie is ahead, but Salmons is going to try to fight back, and he does so. Excellent stuff. I think both Salmons and Merrily lost the rear end through the corner before Gurney Bend. But here comes the car number 6 again. This has all been very well respected. I think these guys are just having quite a bit of fun right now, because this is awesome battling. There's so many overtakes between these two, and they feel very confident going for these moves against one another. Just over a lap to go, and again some oversteer through Tower Turn. Albeit Salmons has got a little bit of a gap trying to get away in these final stages of the race. Also, Jenna versus Boyard is going on. I think Jenna may have just made that move actually on Boyard. I'm not 100% sure. Both these drivers have had issues so far tonight. You can see that by the fact that they're 50 seconds behind. We get the field spreads in these fairly short races, but Jenna, I think, is now actually pulling away. Seems to have a decent amount of momentum, does the European driver.
Yeah, and Halliburton out in front with a 3.7 second gap. It's looking a bit more like to business as usual. So we're taking the white flag, and one lap left with Halliburton just absolutely screaming down the track. Nothing that's going to be able to really rob him of this. I don't even think commentator scores can reach that far. So Morales also looking very, very solid in second. If he doesn't make any mistake, that is going to be a good finish, a strong finish for himself and Moore. Meanwhile, some of the cars still battling it out behind, and these front three making it around the track. Krolsuzek still defending here from Merrily and holding on to the position. Salmons also duking out with Bonnie. Bonnie right on the rear this time and applying the pressure quite firmly. Salmons not buckling at all. They've got one of the drivers off the track there. That looks like a back mark. Not entirely sure. Also nice to see that Barbas moves up into 8th position for the end of the race. So in 8th position, climbing quite a few positions. He's lost 7 positions from the start. We saw him very, very far down earlier. And Gregory Armstrong in the middle of a three-way battle here with Jenna and Boyard. They haven't separated yet. Krosozek taking a bit of a wider line, and really is going to keep behind him. And onto the main straight, Halliburton goes. He's going to flash his lights in celebration, weave a bit, and that is going to be the win for him. Morales also coming across the line, very hard fought for second position. Moore taking third. Also well-earned podium position for him there. Krosozek and Merle down the straight. I think Krosozek is going to be very happy about that finish. Merle in fifth, fighting till the end. And Salmons is the driver that ends up in sixth, with Bonnie right behind him, keeping him company all the way. Aaron Baba coming.
Crash in the background. That was Blanco who's lost time. I thought Blanco was a bit by himself. I think he was by himself. I think he may have crashed on the final corner there, Blanco, and that dropped him behind Angvik and maybe Barbara as well. Let's see what happens. He finished in 10th. Decent result for the Uruguayan, to be fair. Yeah, it could have been a couple of places higher. It was, so he was behind. So he'd already been passed by Barbara, to be fair. Then we have the back marker there. Oh, come on. Oh, Raphael will be annoyed with that one. He only lost in one place. He lost to Angvik. But that's an annoying one. By yourself on the last corner and you spin. Disappointment there. But still up 3 places from his starts, and I think as the car number 16 he gets a nice bit of iRating. That'll be about 30 odd iRating for him.
Yeah, that's a bit unfortunate, but it just goes to show with racing, you need to keep it in control all the way until the end. It's not over until you cross that line, and you're utterly sure that you finish the race. But definitely an interesting race to watch. So Halliburton out in top, very, very good improvement from the start, so gaining 3 places. Morales and Moore retaining their positions from the start. Very, very well earned second and third place for them. And then we've got Krosozek in 4th place, Merle in 5th, both of them gaining 3 positions. Salmons is going to take 6th, Bonnie 7th, Aaron Bava is going to take 8th place. And then we've got Angvik, Blanco Herb, Hesterman in 12th, Rasputo recovering from that contact with Jenna, suitable unlucky 13, so he's 13th on the results. And then we've got Pudnix, Jenna, Barnes and Boyard, and then Armstrong in 18th. Just scrolling through the results, and then we've got Muller, Duvernay, Ferd, Hernandez, Kaliskin, and Hart rounding out the pack. So unfortunate retirement. I'm just also going to take the opportunity to thank one of our sponsors. So thank you to Virtual Racing School. You can use them to improve your on-track performance with 50+ data packs, road and oval racing setups, track guides. And they've got a very, very cool data analysis software that you can use to compare your laps. And you can also do one-on-one coaching through their platform. So definitely go check them out. Sam, what are your thoughts?
I thought it was a good race. I mean, certainly qualifying sort of hyped up the race a fair amount with the very close qualifying that we had. And yeah, I think the race delivered. I think we had a lot of good battles, kind of demonstrating once again that this Radical SR10 you can very much race in. And yeah, I'm just looking forward to the rest of the rounds. I think we're going to have some more good racing for the rest of the season.
I'm definitely looking forward. So, unfortunately, none of the drivers that want to talk to us at the moment. Sam, I'm just going to... Sorry?
So, seeing as we haven't got any interviews, I'm just going to give you a bit of a behind the scenes where, honestly, my screens have absolutely just gone to mess. I have no idea what's going on right now. But thank goodness you can still hear me. I mean, that's the good thing in all of this, because imagine if you couldn't hear my voice. But I seem to be fixing it. There you go. That's a bit of Apex Racing TV behind the scenes for you. Sorry, Johan, what were you going to say?
Well, yeah, definitely glad you're still here. Otherwise, the audience will be stuck with me. And I think you're probably the face of this operation, the face and the voice. So next week, for those of you that are enjoying the F1 this week, we're going to Red Bull Ring. So your opportunity to get a bit of get your little bit of taste of the Spielberg racetrack. So I always enjoy Red Bull Ring. I love the change in elevation. I love the corners. Unfortunately, I can't publicly say what my wife calls the second corner, but let's just say she's not friends with that particular corner. It's going to make for maybe not the greatest racing, but some interesting racing indeed. Sam, your thoughts about the track?
Yeah, I think I was speaking to a driver the other week, and it must have been for a series where he had Red Bull Ring coming up, but they said that they really didn't like it. And I sort of understand why, because like, I on the most part I enjoy the track because I think it's a short circuit, but it has pretty much every type of corner, which is quite good. And also it's just, you know, really pretty, to be fair, like just driving around it's quite nice. But I think if you're in something which is quite low powered, it can get a bit dull because you're on the straights for most of the time. But I think in these SR10s, I think it should be quite good fun. I think the drivers should enjoy themselves, and I think it's a bit more of a slightly more basic circuit. I think for these cars, there'll be a lot of understeer around a couple of the corners, but I think they should be able to get their heads around it fairly quick, that track. So I think it should be a bit more competitive. And of course, we've got those big slipstreaming. Should be very possible to overtake some big braking areas as well. So no, should be a good one. Should Red Bull Ring. I think it will be quite just a nice return to a bit of a simpler circuit for these guys after a very tricky start to the season. Very much a baptism of fire in this car.
Yeah, it's difficult when you've got a car that's already a monster to control, and then you take a track like Sebring, that I mean, these guys are very capable drivers, but if you're still learning your machinery, it's difficult to then cope with the intricacies of something that's a bit more complex, like Sebring. Also, Virginia might even be an example of that as well, where you need to take your mind off the car in itself and actually focus on the track a bit more. And it's difficult when this car demands so much of your concentration. So yeah, I think it's going to be a very, very welcome break for the drivers, as you've said. Just want to remind for those of you that are watching that if you want to keep up with the Apex Racing TV, you can also look for us on the different social media. So definitely check us out on Instagram, Twitter. You've got us here on YouTube, and we've got racing action all year round. Almost every day of the week. Lots of stuff to look out for. Also, if you are one of the drivers for the Radical Racing Challenge and you typically find yourself in the strength of field race, you can also find details on our website about the Discord server, so you can actually come and talk to us afterwards. It is becoming a bit lonely. We actually want to hear what your opinions were about what was happening on track. I'm going to just read out what we've got lined up for us in the future. So, looking ahead, we've got the VSCA Sport Car Championship, round 6 at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, or Mosport. So that is happening tomorrow. Then we've got ARA Formula 4, round 5 at Laguna Seca. That's going to be an interesting one. That's also happening tomorrow. And then Formula 3.5 Championship at Monza. Seems to be that will also be a very exciting race. Also happening tomorrow. So if you're bored, there's something happening at different parts of the evening for me. For you, it might be a bit earlier or a bit later, depending on your time zone. So check out the list on YouTube. And then we've got the SRF Weekend Warriors. So if you want to hear Sam's voice again, they are headed to, there might be a bit of a mistake here. It says Phoenix Raceway, but I think it is supposed to be at Knockhill. But do check that out. It's always interesting to see something a bit different than open wheelers. And then IGP Fun F3 VRS at Sonoma. That's happening on the 10th. And then on the 11th, we've got the iRacing Israel League. That's also happening at Mosport Park. Then Recmotec Classic Sprint Series around 6 and 7 at Brands Hatch Circuit. We've also got the ARL, so that's going to happen on the 12th. And then we've got the ARL GT3 trophy happening at Monza as well. That's on the 12th. And then on the 13th, we've got the Ray Esports Racing League round 4 at Watkins Glen. So lots of racing up ahead. Sam, anything else that you want to discuss? Seeing that we've got none of the drivers that really want to give us a bit of insight about what happened in the race.
No, and we desperately do want the drivers to have a chat with us because we both dabbled in the SR10 a bit, but I mean, we're both like not especially great in it. So like, it would be great to get some like feedback from some of the drivers as to what the tires are doing. I try to keep an eye on the Discord, but it would be great to have a few of you guys like joining in the Discord server and having a quick chat to us post race. I just think that the next round of the championship is going to be very good, Johan. I think people should watch, and also they should watch the Formula 4 Championship tomorrow because Suzuka, best circuit in the world, obviously categorically is the case, and that Formula 4 Championship was always really good. The elimination format, obviously, so will be really a good one to watch. So even if you're not interested in those other broadcasts listed, do make sure to tune in at 8 o'clock tomorrow evening.
Yeah, Suzuka always delivers. It's actually the reason why I'm very, very excited that it's actually finally back on the F1 circuit. So really looking forward to both the broadcast tomorrow and then the Formula 1 actually going there as well. But yeah, just another quick look before we go to the schedule. So heading to the Red Bull Ring. Then after that, it's going to be Summit Point Raceway. Then we've got Phillip Island, and then the SR10s are also going to Suzuka. So that's going to be the first week of August. Looking forward to that. And then we've got Imola, Hockenheim Ring, Alton Park, and of course the classic Nürburgring for the SR10. So lots of great racing to come up ahead during the rest of the year. Do keep an eye on the series if you love it. Also, if you love the car, definitely try and participate as well. Until next time, it's myself, Jan Carinas, Sam Fitzpatrick, and Jamie Fluke signing off for the night. Thank you for joining us, and you have a lovely evening.